So how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I've got Taylor Forge here from State Farm. How long have you been in the business? Let's start with the normal question I always ask straight ahead.
Yeah. First, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
So I've been in insurance for coming up on right at 10 years, but I became an agent myself May 1st of 2021.
Wonderful. Is that a process?
It is. Things have changed. So my dad was an agent for 36 years. Things have changed since then, like everything has.
Yes.
You know, change is inevitable. It's no longer just mom or dad can hand it down to their son or daughter. You have to go through a knowledge assessment check. You have to, go through the interview process, business plan, which is, I'm glad you do, because it was eye-opening. I always joke now that I realized my dad wasn't in the back room taking a nap. There's more to it, and so...
State-wise, are you licensed in areas?
Yeah, so that's left up to the agent. Personally, I'm licensed for Idaho and Washington because our geographic, area.
We're so close.
And that just made more sense to me. I could get licensed for Oregon, other states, but I love where I live because we get to do things like this. People, and I really didn't want to have a big customer base outside of where we couldn't build relationships.
Exactly.
So Idaho and Washington's where we're at. And there's, as you said, licensing. I know you know about that.
Yes, I do.
You got to pass those tests.
Oh, man. I just got a ding in my email about continuing education. I was like, no, I just did it.
It sneaks up on you real quick.
You guys also have to do continuing ed.
Yep.
Ugh,
24 hours. So.
It's all right. I mean, yes, you need those things that you need to touch base on. Ours is like money laundering and like this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And what if you hadn't had that and you're like a little weak in some areas?
Right.
You never know.
It's always a good check-in. It's not a lot of light bulb goes off moments. A lot of times it's, don't steal, don't rob. One thing my dad said is start right, stay right, end right. Then you don't have to worry about if you're okay. You're fine, which is, so that's what we try and do.
That's very cool. How many are in your office currently?
So that's been a struggle since we started.
A
lot of small local businesses, is staffing. We currently have 3 people in my office. 2 are fully licensed. I have a gal named Sharon and Grace, and then a secretary named Sarah. And we're actually working to get her license because she's been with me since day one. So I always joke she can work through the systems quicker than I can. And once we get her license, she'll be able to help folks in a bigger way.
Oh, very cool.
And then we do have one virtual person to help with some of the service stuff. So 3 in office, 4 total.
Yeah. So with insurance, let's just start with that basic question. Like, what is insurance?
Yeah.
Why have it?
Good question. Insurance is essentially a transfer of risk. In preparation for this, I actually Googled the Webster definition, so I'm going to go to my notes here.
You say it.
Coverage by contract whereby one party undertakes to indemnify or guarantee another against loss by a specified contingency or peril.
Got it.
So short version is it's a transfer of risk.
Yes. Now, policy-wise, are you able to bundle certain policies? Umbrella policy?
Yeah, it depends on everybody's situation. Yeah, but generally, if you're married, it makes sense for both spouses to have their vehicles insured together. There's multi-car discount. If you buy a home, bundle that together because there's a bundling discount there.
Yeah.
Even before you're ready to buy a home, if you're renting, I always tell folks, look into renter's insurance.
For sure.
Because of the coverage, the discount. But on the insurance rate, and we may get into this a little later, having renter's insurance. So Taylor Forge, with 5 years of renter's insurance, when I get ready to go buy a house and get home insurance, I'm going to pay some 10 years.
Yes.
Yep. So I'll pay less and I'll be covered in the meantime.
For sure. Let's talk then in the credit score world, how does that affect your insurance?
Yeah, credit's a big one. A lot has changed. So I'm licensed in Idaho and Washington, and they take two pretty different stances.
They do.
Yeah, there's
We
been
know.
there's been credits back in Washington now, but yeah, payment history. And every insurance company has their own way of doing things. State Farm has its way of
Their
doing
policies.
things. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
But credit usually plays a factor, and yeah.
They're harping down on it more, and it's more of a tighter window of being able to qualify in certain. A lot of our loan programs, have changed the standard of like the lowest they can go,
Right.
And all that, and they're just harping down on it. So,
I think insurance companies are taking a look at that and will decide. In Washington, there was some back and forth on if it should be allowed or not. It ended up coming back in.
when did that happen? For sure.
That was post-COVID.
Oh yeah.
And rightfully so. It was paused because it affected people weren't able to go to work, a lot of jobs.
For sure.
It's back in now, and we'll see how it goes. But,
Sure.
we mentioned change earlier. I'm sure
Yes.
we'll see more change down the road.
Hopefully, it's that scale of things, always tend to drop. And, hopefully we are on that up and up again.
Where things get better?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're all ready
that's
for
the,
that.
That's the hope.
Yes.
With Washington rates going up, is that because they took that time off? Like, is it like they're so much higher? It's just, is there a reason for that, or is it just kind of how?
Most insurance companies, and it's not just Washington, it's pretty much nationwide.
Okay.
And it's for a reason we're all tired of hearing about, but inflation has affected everything. We tell our folks, you drive by a car lot and you look at what they're asking for even used vehicles, it's more expensive. Parts have gone up, labor's gone up, and all these safety features, which are great, but not that long ago, if you wanted the backup camera, this, that, or the other, you had to get the limited model of whatever. Now, a lot of those safety features come standard, and when you have an accident, it's, say, a little fender bender. It used to be replace the fender. Now it's the bumper, the backup camera, the backup sensor. And so industry-wide, that's what insurance companies are catching up to.
Tech, I don't know why that reminds me of like tech, like things are always evolving or adding on.
It's funny that a safety feature that's there to cause or to reduce the amount of accidents hasn't done that. And I think we all share some responsibility in texting and driving,
Oh yeah.
talking on our phones. But
yeah.
it's ironic that those safety features are what's causing rates in part to go up.
Oh yeah. I
So-
just got pulled over the other day.
Uh-oh.
Well, my son, he was like, I want to listen to this song. And so I go silent, I like flipping through, and then I see the cop car lights, and I was like, oh, I got to pull over. And then he slowed down. I was like, oh no, that's for me. And I just instantly knew I was on my phone.
You got me. Well,
did.
and they can, e-tickets or something now, right?
Yeah. Well, and this was, Idaho, because, Washington, you can't. And yeah, he got
Right.
me in Idaho and was like, this is your warning, and gave me the code. And I was like,
Okay. He let you.
I know, my son, I looked back and I was like,
It was a life
for you,
lesson.
buddy. So now we request songs before the car starts moving.
Smart.
But-
And I have a 1.5-year-old, and I've taken him to daycare a few times, and you got to have the wheels on the bus go round and
Oh,
round.
gosh, yes.
Something. And so, you got to get that playlist set up
Oh, yeah.
before. I'm not perfect on it either, but I've set my phone up to when I get a text,
Yes.
it says that
Oh
automatic.
yeah. Well, with
driving.
with work, it's like I have to kind of be on the spot for certain things and people, and so I get that alert. So I do need to do that on my phone. That silence.
try it.
while driving. I don't know. I'll probably still get pulled over.
I think, we've all been next to that person that sat through a green arrow turn light because they
Right.
were on their phone.
Right.
And so,
That's funny. So jumping back, let's talk about like marketing in your realm, are you able to do your own marketing? Do you have to go, with State Farm's, their preferred marketing techniques? How does that work in your business?
Yeah, so being a State Farm agent, there are some things that I can do through them where they help you out. They have the pre-approved vendors, what have you. When
Compliance.
Yeah, make sure you're compliant. That's always important. Your industry as well.
Oh, yeah.
When I first started, we were doing some billboards just kind of as the branding. I tell you what, it's I don't necessarily like seeing a blown up picture of myself on the side of the road because it's, we're all our worst judges.
Always.
Yeah. But so we do some of that. We do internet leads. It's just trying to be out in the community.
Yeah.
I'm excited when my kids t-ball because I want to, do the sponsors or sponsorships of teams and stuff like that.
You coach?
Not yet, but I want
Plan to?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Make my son run for all the times coaches made me run.
dang.
I'll probably be a pushover, but yeah, I'm future tripping, just excited about, what's to come on that front.
That's cool.
Try and take a pronged approach, I guess, to marketing.
Yeah.
I'm not which is why when I got the call here, it's like, it's something I wouldn't have thought about. I'm old school in a lot of ways, print, it's
Right. It is a form of advertisement, in a way, and to, help promote you, the studio itself. It's kind of a way to kill three birds with one stone. I think in my mind is we're all kind of getting a benefit.
Right.
And to learn more about you and who you're with. And with the State Farm, do you ever go to any of do they bring agents all together and do events yearly?
Yeah, they do. We have like seminars quarterly where we get together for our territory. Actually, my first year, it was really cool. State Farm celebrated their 100th year. And so we had our national convention in Vegas.
Fun.
And, it was small town kid, new business owner. I think it happened like 6 months into my first year, or maybe I'd been in business for a year already. But it was, just kind of, there's a lot of agents out there, all companies, but it's just, it was cool to get together and press the flesh with, agents that have been there and done it for 30, 40, 50 years. You talk
seen
about
it all.
Yeah, you talk about change. It's
that's very cool.
But I was lucky to learn from my father and spend some time with him, and experience some of that along the way when he was an agent too. So
very generational. I like that. That's very cool.
Yeah. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Definitely
sometimes.
Not. Oh gosh, no. I know with my kids, I'm like, are they gonna be? I do also wedding makeup. I'm like, I don't think anyone in my family is going to end up doing that, but it's
you never
funny.
know.
I
you
know.
never know.
But that's awesome. I feel that, I kind of still feel that when it's like, I've been in it for over a year now. I still feel very small in the whole realm of the business. With, some mentors that you had in your life, do you feel like you were able to have access through State Farm of if you ever needed help? Or, super easy to get someone to help you? Or, with your own business, you have your own hurdles, but do they give a good platform and stuff for you when you need it?
Yeah, it's when I was applying to become an agent, I reached out to, obviously I picked my dad's brain, but I reached out to, his mentors, folks that had already retired, people that were still in agency. What are the pros and cons? Because this is what I was thinking I wanted my future to be based around. I knew I wanted to help people. Out of college, I thought I wanted to be a physical therapist because I think like a lot of physical therapists, I had physical therapy.
Exactly.
And just kind of, I say I fell out of love with it. I also didn't do real good on my, or real great on my SAT test or whatever test I would have had to do to get into, graduate school.
Yeah.
And so I called an audible. And insurance, I felt like it was a way where I could help folks just in a different sense because we have to have insurance. We're a local office, and so good, right, for better or worse, there's some accountability with the fact that we have a door that folks can walk in through, share good stories, share
Love
what
that.
we're doing wrong. And agents were willing to share that with me. You talked about the generational. I'm the second agent in my family. You see that a lot when you start calling around. I have a buddy in
Really?
Montana. His dad's an agent. He's an agent. He has 2 cousins and an uncle.
Oh, wow.
And he started about a year and a half before me, so I picked his brain as well.
For sure.
What are we looking at? How is it starting out? Haven't been a business owner up until May 1st.
Yeah.
You know,
whole different ball game.
It's a different ball game. And everybody was forthcoming with information. You know, they wanted to see you succeed. And even though we're all State Farm, I compete with other agents.
For sure.
Not so much with Montana because I'm not licensed in Montana.
Right.
But I think that says a lot about, the people themselves and just their willingness.
Yeah. I feel the same too in my realm of industry and the lending. It's, I know a few local lenders here that I truly have gotten really close with, and, I want to be their friend in their life. And it's like this wall that I feel like I'm not allowed to ask them how work is. And I'm not, but I want that to say oh yeah, I'm also in this with you in this struggle. And especially during this time, which is, this is all I know is this, downness.
Yeah, right. Which when you start in the downness, there's only up, right?
Exactly.
So that's
exactly. Yeah. So for bundling, do you suggest reaching out and seeing what you could do to bundle, or do you give someone an idea of where to start?
If you don't have a local agent, that's where granted, I'm not neutral on this being a local agent, but there's a lot of local agents from all companies in the Valley.
Right.
I don't know a ton about mortgage lending, so I go to the professional. Same with insurance is most companies now in State Farm, there's 24/7 access, mobile apps for the times you want to do it yourself. The times you have questions, turn to your agent, your office. They'll be able to set you up with, okay, these are the discounts you have. This is where you're missing out. What can we do? But yeah, if you have 2 vehicles, have them insured at the same place. Get the discount. If you have a home, at least get a quote for bundling. It's not always the best price, and depending on where the home's at, its eligibility.
Right.
Maybe you can't bundle, but it's worth a call to wherever you're
find
at.
out.
Yeah, yep. And quotes are free, generally speaking.
Good.
So
Good.
I guess I can speak on, Taylor Forge State Farm's behalf, but generally the quotes are free. So it's knowledge is power, that old saying. So
Yes.
find out.
Very true. With the home buying, when you're, in the process, can you bundle right then and there, or do you have to wait?
Yeah. So you buy a house.
Yeah.
Let's say your vehicle insurance is still with mom and dad. It's your
Yeah.
first house. You're moving out. When you close on the home, you speak with you get it approved. You start working with your mortgage broker. They're gonna guesstimate what the insurance is, and at that point, usually tell you to start getting some quotes. At that point, say you're closing on the home 2 months from now, a month from now. When you call to get that home quote, have them quote your autos and your auto insurance as well.
At that same time.
Yeah, so you have that packaged
Oh, that's
discount, and it's easy to find out, and
Yeah.
you'll know if it's worth having.
I just
to get
didn't know if it was something that you had to wait until after the whole transaction of buying the house and then go and do. I just didn't know if you could do it right then and there.
You can do it then and there, but I guess you won't. You have to have the policies in force,
Right.
started, and you're not
It's
going to
just
start.
more of a quote.
Yeah, you're not
Okay.
going to start the home quote or the home policy until the home's actually yours.
Got it.
But at that point, you can bring your autos to whoever's going to insure your home, so it starts the same day.
Sure.
And
Okay.
90% of the time, that's the way it is.
It works.
Yeah, you're no longer renting. I'm buying a home. You shop around. Okay, I'm going with this company. Hopefully, it's Taylor Forge State Farm, but you go with this company, and yeah, you can start the autos at the same time.
Sure. So this is just kind of something that was, discussed in my, my head is when we have clients that get pre-approved, for a certain number and then payment and all that, and then they throw in the insurance portion and it overtops it. And maybe they were pre-qualified like 6 months ago.
Right.
And we had all, insurance and stuff lined out, and then we get a binder when they do find something, and it's maybe from $40 to $150.
Right. Throws them
And
off.
then they quote throws them off. How do you go from that 40 to 150?
With home insurance, it can get tough because you can't necessarily start stripping down a bunch, at least with what I think folks should have, because home insurance is a package deal most of the time. It's looking at the home, it's looking at any outbuildings, it's looking at personal property, and then there's endorsements or extras you can add. If, a mortgage broker is seeing that time and time again, we talked about change. I would recommend reaching out to different insurance companies, agents, asking, okay, this used to be the average. What are you
What
seeing
is it now?
Yeah. Because it's a win-win. I know, on the mortgage side, you want to give people an accurate quote so that they get excited about getting this home.
Taxes, insurance, like, as much as
Taxes
we can.
have gone up too,
Yeah.
so it's all, it's just having that open dialogue and having those, those potential customers get the quotes sooner
Yes.
rather than later.
Yes.
So that if there is a change, can we do something different on the mortgage? That's your world, having us work back and forth. But yeah, if it's happening time and time again, it's okay. Something's
Yeah.
changed because we are seeing a lot of change on the insurance industry because rebuild costs have gone kind of through the roof.
Construction and all that, yeah.
Thanks supply chain, some of those items. So
Let's talk about then like the add-ons like flood or earthquake and, can you do all that type
so
add-ons?
flood, and every company again kind of has their base policy includes different limits and extras. Their endorsements may look a little different from company to company. As far as flood insurance, that's something that generally you have to go through the National Flood Insurance
their
Program.
own.
Yeah, it's not in place of home insurance. It's in addition to.
Sure.
And in our area, I don't see it too often because it's generally not cheap. And if we don't live usually it's the mortgage company that, hey, the home's on a floodplain, you have to have this, and then they
The
get it.
percentage I think is like 1% something, 100-year flood, or I think if I remember
The graph
right.
they use,
Yeah.
in 10 years I've had one home policy where the bank required flood insurance. Yeah, because we
Wow.
don't really live on a floodplain for the vast majority of our area.
Sure.
As far as extras, does your policy have replacement cost? Is it actual cash value? There's something called backup of sewer and drain. So if there's a backup off your property, do you have
Okay.
coverage for your policy? We have a lot of older homes in the valley. The valley's been around for a while. There's something called building ordinance or law. And so that's something if your home is, that 100-year mark and it hasn't had a full update in 20 or 30 years, that's something that's where it goes back to, you can get insurance, there's a ton of places that'll do it, finding somebody you trust that you can talk to
Any questions?
to go over those ins and outs,
What if they don't know that they need it?
Right.
Exactly.
Then it's on the agent to go over as many scenarios, and really have the conversation,
Yeah.
a needs-based conversation. This is what you have, it's a conversation like we're having now.
Yeah, for sure. The part where people don't know, like we give out a few options because it's the client's choice. They choose whoever they want for insurance.
Right.
Go with that. And do you feel like that insurance stuff should be just introduced earlier in the process of like the home buying?
Yeah,
Because I know, like, we reach out, lenders, we reach out to you for binders and all this, but do you notice that maybe it could be earlier in the game?
it's. I think some of it depends on the customer, the potential buyer, because if they're and how soon closing's trying to happen, how soon
Sure.
the seller wants out of the house. Usually, we have plenty of time if we're contacted early enough. I don't know how every other insurance office does it, but if we get a binder request, we reach out to that buyer to go over the details of the home and to go over the coverages, because we're not just going to insure for what the purchase price is. And purchase price includes the lot.
Yes.
Insurance doesn't generally cover the lot. And if I haven't ever spoken to you as the buyer, I don't know what extras you need, if you need any at all. Are we bundling any of that? So it's just, I guess that would be the clear communication is
Sure.
the buyer, the mortgage company, the realtor, the insurance is you should talk to at least one person in each of those fields.
Yes. Then they should individually tell you how things are going to go in their world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
sure.
have conversations. We're in different fields, but our paths cross.
For sure.
Somebody
Oh,
sells a
man.
home, you finance it. Hopefully, I insure it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's full circle.
Right.
I love that. I wanted to ask kind of a fun question. Personally, you, what do you have for insurance? I guess is like who did you go through when you bought your house or
So for the insurance side of things,
yeah.
I use Taylor Ford State Farm.
I didn't know if that was if you were needing like by law you'd have to go somewhere else. I don't know.
And
Curious.
That's a good question, because to me it's like, oh yeah, I can, but I can see why. You wouldn't know, because sometimes you can't do it yourself.
That conflict of interest, if it's I don't know if.
Yeah, they'll let you do it, but I'm underwritten or reviewed like any other customer.
Sure.
We talk about inflation. When rates go up, it's my job to try and give folks a heads up and see if there's anything we can do to try and counter that.
Sure.
And at the same time, my rates are going up at the same time. So it's part of it, but it allows me to empathize with folks because, your taxes went up, mine too.
Yes,
It's kind of all in it together.
For sure.
But that's how I look at it. And again, good, bad, or indifferent.
Well, and I'll like see people like requesting a certain payment, for their house payment, and I like sympathize with them because it's like I bought my first house, in 2019, or no, 2017.
Okay,
excuse me.
yeah, even better, yes.
Even better. And so it's like their house payment to like what I am paying for my house. It's like I sympathize so much because I don't know how some people, they get that idea, oh yeah, this house looks nice, or they'll start looking ahead of time and then they fall in love. And then they go in and then it's the truth that comes out.
And you don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but at the same time, we're not doing our jobs or them any service.
Exactly.
If we tell them what they want to hear. I want them to get the house. I want us to insure it. And most of the time it works out. And if it doesn't, maybe it just wasn't. Maybe there's something better to come along that they just, they don't know about it yet.
Sure.
But yeah, things have changed. I always tell our first-time home buyers when they call, hey, I'm getting ready to start looking. I always joke, don't ask mom and dad what they paid for their house, because you don't want to know. You don't want to know. Yeah.
There's tears involved.
Yeah. But it's, we'll all get through it together.
Yeah. Do you have any this is maybe more of a general question I have is when someone comes in, first-time home buyer, and, they're wanting to qualify for a certain amount, can't, and maybe it's the insurance or something,
Right.
It
could be.
Maybe they went shopping around and maybe that is the lowest. Do you give them any sort of directional way to improve some things, to maybe improve them on getting a different policy or a better policy?
It's that's a good question. There's a number of factors. It may be rates, it may be the value of the home, it may be credit score. I give out a lot of advice on credit score because we all are kind of trying to do our best, I think.
Yeah. I just didn't know if you guys, that's just maybe more of a
Well,
I
and
didn't
if
know question.
yeah, and we get customers sometimes that will call us. Sometimes it's a friend I've known for ever, and maybe for one reason or the other, our quote's not there. Part of my job is if it's not the right time for us, okay, maybe check elsewhere. But our door's open, so if things change,
Sure.
but that is, and it's not just a line. If you're renting now and your 3-year plan, you want to become a homeowner, look at renter's insurance wherever you're at, because that does factor in whether we want it to or not, and it could protect your rear if, heaven forbid, you had a fire and something
Right.
happened.
Do you guys not cover anything?
Yeah, there's
Certain things?
Yeah, flood's not covered.
Sure, right.
Depending on, and I won't speak just State Farm here, but just kind of in general. Sometimes mold may not be covered.
You have to go separate for mold.
Potentially.
Okay.
I don't know what everybody does,
Certain.
but in general terms, those can be pain points.
Sure.
So when you buy a home, I always recommend having it inspected first.
Yes.
Because it's not your problem until it's your home.
Exactly. For sure.
Like earthquake, volcano, those are extras. Again, I don't see that a whole lot where we live, but apparently we had an earthquake this year.
Yeah.
I think that's the second one I just I didn't feel, so I don't
I know.
I may need to ground myself again because I apparently am not connected that way.
My husband's aunt, Diane, can I don't know, she's the weirdest earth, feel burnt. Like, she can stand there and be like, we're having an earthquake. I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell, but she just knows those things.
Maybe it's because I bounce my knee all the time, so I
do.
just wouldn't
can't
feel
stop
it.
moving. That's oh, really? I'm moving with Earth. Oh, gosh. I'm such a dork.
So stuff like that. And then wear and tear. Back to your question, what
Yeah.
may not be, insurance is generally set up to cover sudden and accidental. Don't throw a baseball through your own window on purpose. And maybe that's a bad example, but it's sudden and accidental. If your roof's leaking, I recommend getting it fixed or patched, because if you let it go and it rots out, may or may not
Worse.
be. Yeah.
Worse in the long run.
Which again, I don't think is a big light bulb moment for anybody, but it's one of
Common
those things.
sense,
Uh,
kind of.
And we try and go through some of these things because I can tell you, again, local office,
Yeah.
they're going to come in, as they should. I would rather they know the answer ahead of time. And I wish everything was covered. I'm a homeowner. I know
Totally.
the first big rainstorm we got, I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, making sure downspouts are pointed away from the house, gutters are clean.
I know our poor neighbors got it terrible,
Yeah.
and so we had to go and help them out. And
Good for you, though, for helping out.
we had our shop vacs. We got what we had in our basement, and then
Yeah.
we took our 2 and brought them all over to their house because they needed the most help. And
know your neighbor.
Yes.
That's, what, they're the ones watching your place when you go on a trip,
oh yeah,
grabbing your mail, watering the
yeah.
tomatoes.
Or we had just a neighbor's tree. They were taking it down,
Mm-hmm.
and because it was falling into the other neighbors.
Okay, yep.
So
yep.
it's that aspect. Do they look into the tree and like the landscape stuff with insurance, like a tree? If
If it's a problem
yeah,
tree.
is that the whole lot?
Trees are, generally speaking, and generally I'm taking the chicken way, but here's your non-answer answer. Generally, trees are, so if your tree falls on my house, my home insurance pays for
Should
my
cover
damage. Yes.
Got it.
It would be very hard for me to prove that you were liable for your tree. It kind of gets coded as an act of God in a lot of times, a lot of cases. So yeah, know your neighbor. If it's, our first house, we had a tree of heaven, if you know what that is.
Yes.
Those are the worst.
Oh,
They're not from
no.
heaven. I'll just say that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and once you see them everywhere.
Yeah.
And they sprout. And it was, way up high on our neighbor's fence. He wanted to trim it back. And it's like, go for it.
Yeah.
You know, I wish at that time I would have said, keep your tree guy there. Let's just take it
Just
down.
bring him over.
Yeah. But it provided shade. That was the one good thing
I
that tree
know.
did. But
Oh, dang. I know. We had, right when we first moved, we had a tree that was literally up against the house.
Mm-hmm.
And the original owners were like, oh, yeah, this is the main shade. And Mom was like, oh, dang it. You have to get rid of it. It was hot. That's funny.
Yeah, insurance companies oftentimes don't want too much shrubbery right up against the house because the water gets trapped.
Yeah, so
Yes.
anything.
So there goes your shade, right?
I know. Yeah, there's our
Sorry,
shade.
yeah.
It's fine. Now I just have my blinds closed all the time. My neighbors think I'm a shut-in. It's fine. It was so funny. I don't know why this made me think of it. My neighbor, he noticed that like our son goes out all summer long, every day outside. And then the one winter he got his PlayStation for his birthday.
Nice.
This is his birthday. And all winter, we were cooped up inside.
Right.
My neighbor reached out and was like, I haven't seen Jackson in a while. Is he okay? I'm like, oh yeah, he's fine. He's like, I just haven't seen him outside. And so it's just looking out for.
It's the
like,
check-in.
No,
yeah.
he's good. He just has a PlayStation now.
Right.
That was like 2-3 years ago. Hilarious.
And then you keep the blind shut because you know they're watching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no. Just trying to keep it cool. Oh, that's funny. So, trying to look at what other questions because all my other questions I've had, are all realtor based. You're now my second one that's not. So, if you file a claim that raises your insurance premium, how do you work around that? Like,
So again,
filing a claim, I guess, explain maybe how that would work.
yeah, right now prayers go out to the Spokane area with all the fires that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
In regards to claims, you can file it online. You can call a 1-800 number. There's a mobile app where you can do it. Again, this is State Farm, but most companies have some version of that. A lot of times I recommend at least having the initial conversation with your office, your agent, kind of dissect how much damage there is, compare that with your deductible, and see if it's worth filing.
Does it always increase it?
Generally,
Yeah.
And so that's, the deductibles in a lot of cases are higher than they were 30, 40 years ago, but home prices are a lot higher. Home values are a lot higher than they were 30, 40 years ago.
For sure.
Let alone a few years ago. But talk with your agent, kind of get the full picture. We'll always do whatever our customer wants. But if that damage is only $50 over your deductible, is it worth losing that $300 claim-free discount?
Sure.
And I've had family where they get initial estimate and it's like, oh yeah, that's a no-brainer. That's $30,000 worth of damage. That's why you have insurance. It's and we all pay for insurance. We hope we never have to need it. It's kind of it's a bugger that way. But if you do, it can be, it's a lifesaver. It doesn't take the headache away. And I guess here's a plug for, if have been in your home forever or you're just buying a home, go room to room and take pictures of your things and email them to yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you have a claim, most companies aren't going to just cut you a check. You're going to have to inventory.
Show evidence.
Yes, and it doesn't take the hassle of that away. Insurance doesn't take the hassle away, unfortunately, but monetarily it can make sure that you're not out alone. And having those pictures. Remember DVD towers?
Yes.
Yeah, remember
Yes.
That's what I always. That's kind of my example is you'd see people with 100 DVDs.
Oh yeah.
And
I still have my one in my car. I'm pretty sure, like my whole shred of DVDs, or
Right.
not DVDs, but my
your
CDs.
CDs, yeah, same thing. Oh, you probably had the
book.
the huge
It's the
book.
book,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah.
novel, yeah.
That makes me think of that. That's funny.
But it's if you have that picture, you can go back and
Yes.
say, hey, I had. Now I'm trying to figure out which artist I want to say first. Do I
Oh,
want to tell on
gosh.
myself?
You can. I'm okay. We were just listening to In This Moment not that long ago. It's do you know what that one is? In This Moment? Oh, it's like a female rock.
Okay.
Or heavy rock.
Okay.
Oh gosh, Love her.
So
My favorite.
Right on. Okay. Yeah, I chickened out on you there,
Yes,
but
you did.
maybe
It's
you have
okay.
Will Smith,
There you
Eminem,
go.
Nirvana, Britney Spears, Kate, pop culture.
So good.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
But trying to think of all those if you don't have a picture,
Right.
don't lose out on getting paid what you should because you don't have a picture of it.
There you go. So
And
that's a good thing to know.
I need to take pictures.
Of yours?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I believe in it, and then
Well,
so I know how life gets busy, and we forget. We turn into mom or dad,
Yes.
but
You get in the
it's-
flow of things.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's important, and I need to put myself an alarm and do it.
I was told too, like when I was first renting,
Mm-hmm.
was to take pictures because then when you want your deposit back, you want to make sure that you didn't have any damage when you
Yeah.
left. You have to have show. It's not that a lot of that too is like, we can't just use your word for it.
Right.
And
well, yeah.
some things, and with like people looking and like giving me their income, they're like, oh yeah, I make that much.
I know, and it's
It's
nothing
like,
personal,
It's
but
nothing personal, but I just need evidence. I
Right.
need to show that paper trail
Mm-hmm.
of the things that were said.
Right.
Because I cannot go off your word. I wish I could. But then again, there's 2008.
Right. Things would be different. Things would be more expensive. There would be
Exactly.
fraud. People would be getting into homes where, maybe it wasn't the right move.
For sure.
Yeah, take those pictures.
No, this is maybe, again, just another personal, like myself question.
Okay.
Claim wise, what's the percentage, like the biggest thing that is claimed? Is it fire?
Yeah.
Is it? I would think.
Fires generally have the biggest price tag with them. We see theft.
Oh, yeah,
You'll
yeah.
get like windstorms, hail, wind, whether just the wind rips the roof off or
Mm-hmm.
generally, a branch falls down. You get busted pipes. I mean, so there's a lot of things that
Okay.
can
Well,
happen.
I guess I don't know why I thought fire
But
was
fires
the most.
are generally the big,
The claims that get turned in, like,
and they're the total losses.
Yeah.
They're the I need a new home.
yeah.
Pictures are often, you can't replace them, if they're not backed up. So that's,
Personal property.
well, yeah. I mean, they're covered under personal property, but you can't, if they're not backed up anywhere,
Yeah,
you can't print them
can't
off.
get 'em
So
off.
that's,
Yeah.
I like a real book. I'm old school that way. Real pictures. My mom's a big scrapbooker,
Aw.
and I love, it's not like you go back and look at the pictures very often, but when you
No.
do, you're so glad you did.
Yes.
Even if that's you and you love the physical portion, backing them up, put them on a CD so that
It's always
way,
good too.
if something does happen, those memories aren't lost to you forever.
Yeah. Oh, what a good little thing to add to get someone to prepare,
Right.
because the home buying process is huge.
So it can be overwhelming.
So overwhelming, and
Yeah.
to have those little tricks and tips and things
Mm-hmm.
to give to your clients to make them feel like you are completely looking out for them. You
But
know.
it's probably, here's another thing to do,
Okay.
when we're packing
Put
up
it
our
on the
stuff.
list.
Yeah. It's also a really good time to spring clean, right?
Oh
That's-
yeah. I think COVID, we went through some spring cleaning, and I just went through my kids' toys because they both have birthdays.
Okay, yeah.
One's in August, one's September. I was so proud. It's like, oh yeah, I got rid of all these toys. Yeah, we are gonna get them all back with birthdays and Christmas. So
Happy
it's.
birthday.
I know. Like, why did I do that? I'm trying to think if I had anything else on here that was maybe not touched on. Ooh. If the house that you want to buy had a claim in the past, does that raise your premium?
Good question. No.
No. Does it follow them? How does that work?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the homeowner, the one that filed the claim.
Yeah.
That is one nice thing. If you make an offer on a house, you work with your broker, quickly get that quote. I mean, there's incentive there for the mutual customer to get a quote early on, because
Yes.
insurance companies run a report that generally pulls insurance information for the potential buyer, but also for the seller, or for that address, I should say.
The whole property
Yeah.
itself.
So they can see, was there a claim filed on that property that maybe the seller didn't disclose? For one reason or the other, things get lost. Sometimes claims are open and nothing's paid out, and so people don't think about it. But yeah, it's it won't affect them, but it's good information to know that
To
they
know
may be able
in
to find out.
case.
Yeah,
Like what if they didn't know, you know,
Right.
but maybe the person before them.
and then they can take that to the seller. Hey, you know, I know we had this check. Can we have it checked again? Or you know, just
Yeah,
again,
just in case.
to protect themselves. And there's you know inherent risk in everything you do, but getting a home inspected, getting it sewer scoped a lot of times.
Just those basic things to know before you
Right.
get into it.
That a lot of times the realtors mention that, you know, the brokers, mortgage brokers, I mean, it's just, they've probably heard it 3 or 4 times, and yeah. And it's usually something we ask about, and it's like, oh, you are good.
Just double checking.
right.
That's like going to the surgeon. Like, have you've had surgery before
Yeah.
where they, like when I had knee surgery, there was a yes on my one leg and no on the other. And 3 people checked it to make sure
Right.
that, yes, this is the leg.
Yeah.
I'm like, just triple checking.
The knee surgery is what made me think I wanted to be a physical therapist for
I
a
worked,
while. Yeah.
I worked at sport physical therapy right out of high school. And
Before or after if you don't mind me asking.
before or after this?
Yeah, your knee.
Before.
Okay.
I did my knee before,
Okay.
and then I worked there.
Okay.
I was a patient there. I was a patient there in 2008 is when I had my knee surgery, and then I graduated in 2010, and I started that summer. And
So does your knee start to creak when it gets cold too?
always I started having a limp. It's awful. I know. I'm just my other knee is gonna just give out.
Right.
Probably carrying the other one. Just
Goody. Yeah, I
yeah,
know.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's been, yeah.
Isn't that funny though? You think when you're, I was so young, and thinking back, if I could go back in time, I'd just like punch myself. Like, what are you doing?
Right. Enjoy it now. Yeah.
I know. That's funny. I did see another one on here, replacement cost estimator.
Mm-hmm.
Explain maybe what that is to someone.
So, and I don't know every company, but
Sure.
To help us value what we think a home's going to cost to rebuild, when somebody calls us, we get details of the home. And so that's why when we get a binder request, you know, we would ask the mortgage broker, let them know you need to have a contact with your agent because they're going to want to review other potential coverages with you, you know, check all the boxes, so to speak.
Yeah.
But we look at square footage, the floor plan, the siding, you know, the number of bathrooms, all these details about the home. And it's pretty eerie how accurate that
Dang.
replacement valuation can get to the purchase price of a home. You know, and then there's other things with that I won't get too in depth in, and it's just compliance, what have you. I don't know what I can't
Sure.
say, but it's the magic mark is because homes sell for market value. What's the market doing? Insurance generally is looking at replacement cost. Sometimes market value and replacement cost align. Sometimes they don't. You know, it's replacement went up there for a while when OSB shot through the roof. It was
Oh,
$100 a
gosh.
sheet. You know, but market value jumped too when there's just more people wanting homes than what is that, supply and demand?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
it's you don't necessarily always have to insure for what you paid for the home. Because maybe maybe it came with a lot of acreage, and again, land is part of the
Yeah.
purchase, but land's going to be there if you have a fire.
Sure.
Did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know if I
that's-
went on a
yeah,
tangent.
I
there.
was pretty much just, when underwriters are asking for that, they want to just, it's just what that is.
Yeah,
Entail. And underwriters normally ask for it
Mm-hmm.
in certain aspects and they're in their decision making for everything. So,
Because they want to know, I mean, on your guys' end, you want to know that if we're loaning out this much and
It
the
equals-
insurance company says it's worth this, is it close? Is
Yes.
it not?
exactly.
Yeah, are they going to stay? And a lot of companies have what's called inflation coverage. So
Okay.
as long as you insure for what the insurance company says the home
Is
rebuild is cost,
Sure.
yeah, replacement cost is, most insurance companies then give you an additional percentage of that amount.
Because of that.
For that,
Trend.
yeah, because it is an estimated replacement cost.
Sure. That's
and
good to know.
Yeah, and so if you do have a home, I mean, you could be fully covered one day, and then all of a sudden, something happens and OSB is $40 more a sheet than it was, yeah, having flashbacks, you know,
dang. Ugh.
that inflation coverage can save somebody's bacon.
Sure.
So yeah.
What about when you are building onto your house and, you know, your square footage is going to be bigger? You might have added a spiral staircase.
Right.
What are some steps for you to go in and get an updated
Yeah.
quote?
Call your agent, you know, whether that's a 1-800 number or walking in. They don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And a lot of times it's, you know, in smaller remodels, they may not think of calling their agent. We try and reach out to folks every couple of years to give them the opportunity to review their
Oh,
insurance.
sure, yeah. Current
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah, because it's, you know, the decisions you made 2 years ago may not fit the bill today. And maybe it's because you remodeled the bathroom, or maybe it's because you paid off a car and
Okay.
you don't want full coverage.
Sure.
Or there's, you know, there's a million and one different scenarios. But yeah, if you paid money to remodel your home, it probably increased your home's value. If you're worried about it and you want that back, make sure your insurance reflects that.
Is matching.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
Good. I just, you know,
Yeah,
again,
it's a good question.
my own
It's-
personal stuff that I kind of asking.
It's one that gets forgotten because we turn into mom or dad or coach or what,
Yes.
and life gets busy, and you're just glad the remodel's done, you know, and you just don't want to think about it anymore.
My husband's the type that'll start a project and not fully finish it. And so it's that like, well, how many projects do we have going on until anything's finished? But that's funny. How are we doing?
58 minutes.
Ooh.
Oh, see, we can actually.
I know the last one I
chat.
got it right at like 59.
Oh, that's.
I know.
You got a really
but it
good.
flies.
It does.
When you
Yeah.
start talking and
Yeah.
and you just lose that track.
Right.
Darrow's supposed to be my like indicator, but I don't know.
He bailed on us. We're there.
Kind of does. One last question I think I have is what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can stop by. You know, one reason I wanted to become an agent in the Lewis-Clark Valley, I'm in Lewiston, is I'm the fourth of now 5 generations of Forges that have been born and raised in the valley, so this is home. It's funny, you know, in high school, it's like, I got to get out. I don't want to know everybody. And then all of a sudden I realize I'm the person, my wife says that when they're at the grocery store, they're looking for people to run into.
Oh, yeah.
So stop in. We'd love to see you. We're at 2270 Thane Grade, Suite 103. So everybody remember the old Shopco?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a bank next to there, and we're in the little strip mall behind the bank. You can call us. You know, our number is 208-746-7052.
Perfect.
And then I have a website, which is apparently not real artsy because it's real basic, but it's www.taylorforgeinsurance.com. You know, I should have come up with something more clever.
I like
but
that. That's good.
Well, I go, well, if that's it, then they know who they're calling, right?
Yeah, it should be straightforward. That's awesome. Well, Taylor, super appreciate that you're on here. Thank you so much for wanting to introduce yourself, you know, be on the podcast, give some information out to people that maybe that just don't know. So really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jamie.
Thanks.